Hello students, so welcome to OTS. So of course it was quite a hectic day today, with CDS and NDA both exams scheduled today, right? So for all those mentors who had been in the defense sector, it was of course a quite, you know, a busy day, hectic day, you need to work out, right? So in this session I will be talking about, in brief actually, about the NDA mathematics paper. So what's new in that? Was it qualitative? Was it comprehensive? And how it all changed over the last, you can say that 2 3 years of the NDA exam. Candidates changed, the resources changed, and the ability of candidates has also changed. Nowadays candidates are hardworking. Many candidates are actually aspiring for these exams. So UPSC has slightly shifted itself as well. I'm not saying that syllabus has changed, so mind my words. Alright, so I'm going to discuss how exactly the paper was in terms of mathematics. So, of course, in brief, I can say that NDA 2 2022 mathematics paper was qualitative as well as comprehensive. And by the word qualitative, I doesn't mean that it is tough. I don't use the word tough because if you look upon the trend of the paper, there were at least 50% of the questions which were based comprehension type. They have give you some passage, 4 5 lines of question, then you have to answer part 1, part 2, part 3. That means if you attempt that comprehension, you will try to finish all those three, right? So they will check out the concept in three different manners. Okay, and if you are stuck somewhere, let's suppose you are utilizing your time, you have already wasted, or you can say utilized your time, but if you are not able to get the answer, you will be slightly demotivated, you can say that. So you will be demotivated that you have invested time but you are not getting the answer. So of course the best method was to pick and choose. You have to choose out the straightforward questions. There were some topics from which straightforward questions were put up, but depends whether you have finished those topics or not. Like if I say there are two perspectives, as a mentor, as a teacher, I can say that there were two different perspectives. First, considering the paper was for the droppers student or those who have finished completely 11th and 12th syllabus. Point number one. The second perspective can be right now you have just entered into plus 2 and you have attempted the NDA paper. So for the second case, I'm talking about average candidates. If you go for those who are in a school right now, they might not have finished the complete NDA syllabus. You might have just touched the integral calculus or may have not done. Right. So if I talk about those candidates who are in plus 2, this is the first attempt, you can say that you may feel that you have not attempted integral calculus, differential equation, as well as the probability section, which actually has a huge weightage. Approximately 28 questions were from this integral calculus and the probability part. So आपको वो क्वेश्चन इकट्ठे देख के थोड़ी डिमोटिवेशन हो जाती होगी कि मे बी आई एम नॉट एबल टू अटेम्प्ट दैट, राइट? बट देयर इज नथिंग टू वरी, राइट? UPSC never asks you have to score 200 in the paper, right? So the only thing you need to worry is that are you above the cutoff, right? And you are pretty aware anything about 9500 is good score. You can score in the GS paper or English section, right? So that overall you can get around 380, 390 or maybe 450. I'm talking about the least one. Let's suppose you think that you are getting 380, 390. Of course, you are on the safer side, right? So I'm not talking about the cutoff right now. I'm just discussing the mathematics perspective. Right, so comprehensive question you can find this has increased, and UPSC is really qualitative one in this aspect, right? If you look upon the previous year papers, the number of comprehensive type questions were literally less, but nowadays, right, they are increasing. They are checking out the acumen. If you would pick up a question, you will try to solve all those related to those topics, especially if you look at the topics of algebra, even in binomial, even in some questions of matrices, determinants, trigo, the questions were passage based. Even the number of questions were 2 or 3, but they have given you some information. You have to pick up the data and then you have to wrap up or play with the data to get the considered answer, right? So that makes difficult for average students, because generally what you practice in NCERT or the reference book, whichever you use, I'm talking about average guys, right? So you have a straightforward question, you try to think which formula you have to use and you get the answer. But this was not the same in this case. For droppers, or you can say that those who have earlier attempted the NDA, that means you are plus 2 pass, you have an advantage because the questions in probability and integral, especially the area under graph, was completely easy. You could have attempted those easily. Even if you have gone through the formulas, at least you have done 50% of the question in an easy manner, that there was no doubt about this actually, right? You can feel the difference. right? For those who are in plus 2, they have focused upon differential calculus, matrices, determinants, and trigo, right? Since trigo was, if I talk about the trigo, there is approximately 16 plus question, out of which I found around 4 or 5 that were, you can say in your language, a bit tougher. You can say that you might have felt difficult, right? But 11 plus question, especially related to the equation and identities, they were straightforward. Even this solution of triangle, one question was there, that was straightforward. You could have done that even if you remember the basic rules of trigonometry, right? So this was of course in his scoring section. Coming to the differential calculus, of course there were some qualitative. So in fact I feel that approximately 30% were literally a bit higher than the NCERT level, which I term qualitative, which checked your acumen. Are you aware of the rules of the function, that is odd even function? And if you are able to draw the graph, if you have a grasp over the graph, you could have done question without solving in detail as well. That was actually a positive point for those guys who are good with the graph, right? Next is coordinate geometry. Since you have done in class 11, so majority of the candidates would have tried to attempt the coordinate geometry section, and it was of course a voluminous. If I include the vector, if you have done, right, I am not sure whether majority 12th candidates who are right now in class 12 had done the vector part or not, but if you have done, vector was literally easy. In fact, I could find some of the questions straightforward from the books. I can name the book, that is Pearson JEE Mathematics. The basic questions were there directly from this book. Even in circle, the intercept question, that direct answer is there in the book, right? So of course you might have followed some other books, because I am not aware about whether this question is in RD Sharma or XYZ, because I follow this book for our school curriculum, for a school integrated model or the coaching model. We try to plan out a bit higher than, you can say, that the ND level, so that at any cost the candidate should be efficient enough to solve those even if the question goes tougher. That's our duty actually, right? So this was a scoring one, coordinate. But yes, you have to draw the diagrams. If you are able to plot out the points, draw the diagrams, you could have easily eliminated the answers. Vectors, straight formula based, I think only 1 or 2 questions were good, otherwise it was more or less copied, right? Coming to this matrices, determinants, right? Generally people feel, or students feel, that this is quite a scoring section because बहुत सारे rules नहीं है, and you have practiced enough in your term 1 of the CBSE as well, right? So ज़्यादातर बच्चे matrices determinant attempt करते ही हैं, but some questions were comprehension based, where they use trigonometry's identities as well. So it was blend of topics, right? So if you have been aware of those topics as well as the matrices rule, determinants rule, you could have done so. But yes, some of them were exhaustive one. I found 3 questions were exhaustive, but rest of them could have been doable. Of course, it will take your time. So time to lagega hi maths pe if you have not done enough practice, right? So in fact, I always say that those who are able to solve 80 or 85 plus are only those candidates who have practiced enough 10,000 plus questions, right? If you have not done so, if you are attempting each and every question, it is very difficult to finish, even 90% of the paper within time. Difficult to finish. Of course, nowadays India has huge talent. There are a lot of candidates who actually try, those who are preparing for IIT, JEEs or something, they try to attempt the NDA paper and they actually score good. That's a bitter truth, right? Because they have practiced enough. It's the positive, their strength, they play with their strength, that is mathematics, right? In fact, if I say that what can be a good score, and I am not saying this is the cutoff, I repeat, this is not a cutoff. I say that even if your score is 116, you are in class 12, you or 116 plus, you are genuinely a good aspirant. You have all the potential, you have done good. So there is nothing to be demoralized as such, right? So those who are preparing for JEE and you feel that you are an average JEE candidate who is looking for approximately, let's suppose 50,000 rank or 95 percentile, you could have scored 162 plus. I feel so. Maybe there is some day where you don't perform, or you outperform others. That depends personal perspective, right? Person to person actually, right? Anyways, any candidate who has done 90 plus is actually good. We appreciate that. But I just wanted into the a deep introspection of the topics which has been asked in ADA. So trend is changing in the sense the quality of questions. So you need to be a bit analytical, more conceptual. If you need to ensure that if you are attempting a question, you should be able to finish it, right? If I say that probability question, yes, they were quite easy because उसमें comprehension type बहुत कुछ नहीं था. आपके टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चन वेल डिफाइंड होते हैं प्रोबेबिलिटी में किसी भी बुक में, और उससे डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन पिकअप थे. इनफैक्ट 2 क्वेश्चन एग्जाम्पलर से भी थे, विच यू कैन फाइंड आउट इन द बुक एज वेल, right? Coming to the algebra section, which is actually broad, so that's why I mentioned in a complete set, like complex number, quadratic, PNC, binomial. So there are 3-4 questions of binomial as well, but those were complex. सबसे ज़्यादा comprehensive type question algebra से थे, comprehensive मतलब passage based question. तो यहाँ पे आपका टाइम ज़्यादा लगा होगा. So if I talk about set A, which I have right now, so starting के पहले question में all those were passage based, which has actually taken your time. And if you have been able to understand, you could have switched over to those questions which were individual one, where the scores can be easily done. वो आप कर सकते थे. I don't know. So you can just, this was the brief insight of the paper. Anything above 90 is a good score. 116 plus, you are a genuine aspirant. You have done, really very well. And those candidates who has been integrated program, JEE ones as well as NDA, and if you have done 160 plus, all the best. Good luck, you have done a better score. So we'll be coming up with the answer cues later on, right? For the time being, I just wanted to share on views on the NDA mathematics paper. So keep it up. Thank you. Good luck.